The studio was alive with energy that morning, the kind of electricity that makes live television both thrilling and terrifying. The audience filled every seat, clapping and cheering, holding up homemade signs that read things like, Team J.Lo Forever, and, Jennifer Rocks. The chatter and excitement reverberated off the walls, bouncing into the rows of cameras, lighting rigs, and microphone cables snaking across the floor. The producers were bustling around backstage, headsets on, adjusting monitors and prompting the crew to get ready. It was going to be a big morning. Jennifer Lopez was the guest, and everyone knew that meant ratings would spike. But there was a tension simmering just beneath the excitement, one that no one could ignore. Joy Behar had made some sharp comments about Jennifer's personal life just the week before, and the segment promised to confront that head-on. The theme music played, upbeat and familiar, signaling the start of the show. The camera pans captured the host smiling, sitting behind their glass table, and the audience erupted as Whoopi Goldberg's voice rang out, "Please welcome the one and only Jennifer Lopez." Jennifer walked onto the stage with that effortless confidence that made people stop and stare. She wore a crisp, tailored white suit, her hair cascading in soft waves down her shoulders, glowing under the stage lights. Her high heels clicked on the polished studio floor as she waved to the audience, who cheered even louder. She hugged Whoopi warmly, exchanged smiles and greetings with Sunny Hostin, Sarah Haynes, and even gave a polite nod to Joy Behar. But anyone watching closely could sense that there was an undercurrent of tension. Joy, seated at the far end of the table, leaned back in her chair with her usual mischievous smirk, eyes glinting like she was waiting for the perfect moment to strike. The applause began to die down as Whoopi leaned in, her tone welcoming. "Jennifer Lopez, everyone, we're so happy to have you here this morning." Jennifer smiled, exuding poise. "Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to be here and talk about everything going on in my life and career." Sunny Hostin jumped in, her voice smooth, trying to keep the atmosphere light. "Jennifer, you've been all over the headlines lately, movies, music, your beauty line, Netflix projects, you really never slow down. How do you manage it all?" Jennifer chuckled, "I guess I just love what I do. Staying busy keeps me energized. It's exciting to be able to juggle all these things, to keep creating and challenging myself." The audience responded with appreciative claps, the tension in the room momentarily easing. But Joy Behar, never one to sit quietly, leaned forward, her smile still playful but edged with a hint of something sharper. "Speaking of exciting, Jennifer, your personal life has been, shall we say, eventful," she said, her voice laced with casual judgment. "Do you ever worry that maybe all these relationships, all the attention, maybe it's a little too much?" The studio went silent. The audience murmured, sensing the sudden shift in the conversation. Even Whoopi's confident smile wavered for a second, caught off guard by the remark. Jennifer's expression didn't change immediately, but the polite smile faltered, and she took a slow breath. "I'm sorry, Joy," she said calmly, almost deceptively so. "Was that a question, or was that a judgment?" Joy chuckled, brushing her hands lightly on the table. "Oh, it's just conversation. You've been in the headlines a lot, people are curious. You've had a few marriages, a lot of media attention, don't you think it's natural to discuss?" Jennifer's jaw tightened slightly, though her voice remained steady. "Curiosity is one thing, condescension is another. You've made a habit of framing people's personal choices as entertainment. That's not conversation, that's gossip." A wave of murmurs rolled through the audience. Some clapped softly, others looked at each other, unsure if they were witnessing a polite rebuke or the beginning of a confrontation. Joy tilted her head, still smirking. "Oh, come on, you're Jennifer Lopez. You've handled the press for decades. I'm just asking a question." Jennifer leaned forward, her eyes locking on Joy's with a mixture of calm and steel. "I've handled the press, yes, but there's a difference between tough questions and disrespect. I've spent years building a career, creating music, movies, and businesses. And yet, every time a woman in the spotlight is asked about her personal life, it's framed as if she's doing something wrong. I'm done being polite about that." The audience leaned forward, captivated. There was a tension in the room, a charged silence that made the air feel heavy. Sarah Haynes shifted uncomfortably in her seat, looking between Jennifer and Joy, clearly aware that this was about to escalate. Whoopi glanced at the producers, her expression a mix of surprise and concern. The cameras rolled on, capturing every second of the unfolding drama. Joy attempted to laugh lightly, though it sounded forced. "Honey, you're one of the biggest stars in the world. Surely you can take a little teasing. Jennifer's eyes didn't waver. Her voice was calm but firm, cutting through the studio noise. There's a difference between teasing and undermining someone. I came here to talk about my work, my career, my projects, my contributions, not to have my personal life reduced to a punchline for someone else's entertainment. The audience responded with spontaneous applause, some cheering softly, others clapping in a stunned recognition of her point. Joy's smirk faltered slightly, but she tried to mask it with a nervous laugh. Jennifer rose from her seat, her movements deliberate and commanding. The mic clipped to her suit rustled as she removed it, setting it down on the glass table with a soft click. She looked around at the hosts, the audience, the cameras, every eye on her, and spoke with measured authority. I'm not here to be made small so someone else can get laughs or clicks. I respect everyone on this table, but I also respect myself. And I'm not going to sit here and let that line be crossed. The audience erupted, some standing to applaud, some shouting their agreement. Joy Behar sat frozen, eyes wide, mouth slightly open, clearly unprepared for the force of Jennifer's response. Whoopi leaned back slightly, a mixture of relief and admiration on her face. By the time Jennifer Lopez's heels had clicked down the hallway and the studio doors had swung shut behind her, the clip of the confrontation had already begun its unstoppable journey across the internet. Within minutes, social media lit up with videos, screenshots, and commentary. Hashtags like hashtag Team J.Lo, hashtag Respect Jennifer, and hashtag Joy Crossed the Line were trending across multiple platforms. Fans and celebrities alike chimed in, praising J.Lo for her poise and for finally calling out the disrespect she had endured for years. The moment had a life of its own, detached from the carefully orchestrated morning show, and it was spreading like wildfire. In her sleek Manhattan hotel suite, Jennifer leaned back on the chaise lounge, a cup of chamomile tea resting on the glass coffee table beside her. Her phone vibrated constantly, each buzz and ping marking another reaction, another retweet, another comment. She picked it up, scrolling through the endless stream of responses. Jennifer Lopez just set a new standard for women in media. Finally, someone stood up to her. Iconic moment, that's how you handle disrespect. She read some comments aloud softly, a small, satisfied smile playing on her lips. This was the reaction she had wanted, not vindictive, not sensationalized, but people finally recognizing that there was a line that should not be crossed. Her manager, Benny Medina, paced the suite, a mix of excitement and nerves in his stride. You know this is everywhere, right? Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, clips are trending globally. Every major outlet is covering it. CNN, Fox, even the entertainment blogs, everyone's talking about it. Jennifer nodded, taking another slow sip of her tea. Good, maybe now people will understand what it's like to be on the receiving end of this constant scrutiny. Not just from fans, not just from the media, but from someone who sits in a chair every morning and acts like she has the right to judge every choice I make. Benny stopped pacing and looked at her with admiration. Honestly, Jen, you were incredible. The calm, the clarity, the way you didn't raise your voice, it's going to be studied as a masterclass in poise under pressure. Jennifer shrugged lightly, leaning against the back of the chaise. I've spent decades in this industry. I know how to respond. You don't have to yell to be heard. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is speak your truth and walk away. While she was reflecting on the incident, the media frenzy behind the scenes of The View was in full swing. Producers and executives were scrambling to issue statements, control the narrative, and manage the social media storm. Clips of the exchange were being dissected frame by frame. Some news anchors replayed her words in slow motion, analyzing the tone, the timing, and the subtle gestures she had made. She handled that with incredible composure, one entertainment reporter commented, and in doing so, she exposed the underlying disrespect that has been tolerated for far too long. Back in the studio, Joy Behar was sitting in her dressing room, staring blankly at her phone. Messages and social media reactions were pouring in at a rate she had not anticipated. Some were supportive, but a growing number were sharply critical. Joy Behar owes Jennifer Lopez an apology. Out of line, totally unprofessional. That wasn't a question, it was an attack. She leaned back in her chair, taking a deep breath, and for the first time that day, she felt the weight of public opinion pressing down. Sarah Haynes, walking past on her way to another segment, knocked gently and peeked in. Hey, you okay? She asked softly. Joy looked up, trying to muster her usual smirk, but it faltered. Did she really have to do that on live TV? Did you really have to say that to her on live TV? Sarah countered gently, crossing her arms. There's a difference between conversation and humiliation. Joy exhaled, realizing Sarah was right. Maybe I went too far, she admitted quietly, a rare moment of humility breaking through. Meanwhile, the coverage of the incident was escalating. News outlets were running segments and articles with headlines like, Jennifer Lopez stands up to disrespect on live TV, and, iconic walkout, J.Lo exposes Joy Behar. Entertainment Tonight, Access Hollywood, and major morning news programs replayed the clip, dissecting every word. Social media influencers created commentary videos, praising Jennifer's ability to maintain composure while holding someone accountable. The internet, as it often did, had turned a fleeting TV moment into a cultural event, sparking conversations about respect, boundaries, and the treatment of women in media. Inside her suite, Jennifer's phone kept buzzing. Messages came from old friends, colleagues, and fellow celebrities, all expressing admiration and solidarity. Courtney Cox texted, "Good for you. About time someone stood up." Reese Witherspoon sent, "Proud of you. You handled that perfectly." Even Adam Sandler wrote, "You were classier than any of us would have been." Jennifer read each message carefully, letting herself feel the warmth and support, a counterbalance to the usual noise of the public eye. By the next morning, The View opened with a noticeably somber tone. Whoopi Goldberg addressed the controversy first, her voice steady but serious. Yesterday's interview with Jennifer Lopez got heated. We want to take a moment to address it. Joy Behar, unusually quiet, nodded and looked into the camera. I said something to Jennifer Lopez that came across as disrespectful. That wasn't my intention, and I regret it, she admitted, her voice measured. Jennifer is an incredible artist and an amazing person, and I shouldn't have crossed that line. I'm sorry. The apology made headlines, but it didn't erase the moment. Jennifer's walkout had already defined the conversation. Fans flooded her social media accounts with messages of support, calling her strong, graceful, and unshakable.